and welcome to Anatomy of a Contract Training Sales Call. My name is Gail Hughes, and I'll be your facilitator. Your presenter today is Kelley from Ascend Institute in Dallas, Texas. During this session, we ask that you please type your questions into the session Q&A and any comments into the session chat. Please remember to upvote any questions you think are important using the thumbs up button. This increases the chances of those questions getting asked and answered. At the end of the session, I'll read your questions to the presenter, starting with the highest upvoted, and we'll continue with questions until we run out of time. This session is being recorded and will be available to watch later today and for 90 days after the session. Remember that we will always start and end on time at the LERN Contract Training Conference. And now I'll turn everything over to our presenter, Kelley. Konley, it's all yours.
Thank you, Gail, and welcome everybody. I want to thank LERN for an opportunity to return as a presenter this year. I love the Contract Training Conference because you're all really, truly an audience of my peers. I'm excited about the sessions this year, just like you are, and I'll be going home with takeaways. I hope you have a few from this session, so let's get started. This is the agenda I want to work with today. It's a very full agenda, so I'll be watching the time. I'm sure Gail will help. I want to give you a little bit of insight to my background because I've been doing this a long time for the college, 28 years. And prior to that, I did some things that led to where I'm at now in sales and benefited me, even though they weren't necessarily pure sales like I'm doing now. And then my job at Richland College Corporate Services was several years, almost more than a decade. So I'm going to talk about that, how that evolved, and how I did contract training and worked with all the tools that we're talking about at the conference. And then this shift to the Ascend Institute and the consolidation of Dallas College. A couple years ago, I did a presentation on lead generation, so I have a little bonus for you there. Then we're going to do some old school making the sales call 101. And from there, I'm going to show you some client management tools we use in contract training at the Ascend Institute. And then I have a really fun little mock sales activity that you can do with your teams or even at parties. So I'll show you that. And then we have some new opportunities that didn't exist before after the centralization of the college. So I'm going to talk about the sector strategies and then how we're working with the schools of and my next objective for this job and where I want to do my selling and see some growth in the market and in the clientele that I'm working with. Then we'll have some last thoughts and Q&A. So I think we need to establish what contract training is. This definition I wrote. I didn't use AI for this definition or anything in the presentation, but I'm going to read it. When a salesperson or solutions provider employed by the college secures a signed training agreement with a company or organization for the delivery of professional training and services. Training is typically customized, priced to market, privately scheduled, delivered on site, and invoiced after training has started or concluded. Or more simply, any training or service delivered by the college under the terms and conditions of an approved contract between the college and customer. I believe these are good definitions for college contract training. I hope you're in agreement. I'm curious about how you would define contract training, if any differently. I'm not a sales rock star by any means. I've been doing this a long time. My numbers are respectable. They could always be better. I've had good years and bad years, successes and failures. But I don't think it's really about what makes you good at sales. It's about what makes you feel good about being in sales. And really comes down to being authentic, patient, be a partner to your customer. This is truly a relationship business. If your client trusts you, that's what you want to establish is trust. And you need to let them know you are there to help. Experience in sales will really come with time. So this is really what's on my business card, project leader, business development. But I'll walk you through a few things that I learned along the way in these last, in some jobs before this and in the last 28 years at Dallas College. So this is a fun slide. It really brings me back to some of the things I did really in the 12 years that I went to college and worked at, mostly at ad agencies. I majored in journalism advertising. In the 90s, we were pre-digital, and I sold for the college newspaper. My first ad was to a bike shop, and it said on the ad, free tubes with the purchase of something else at the bike shop. Well, when we pasted that up, free fell off. So I was mortified. I think I refunded the customer. And how do you recover from something like that? Well, I had to dig in and do that. And then several issues later, I was able to sell the entire back page. And then I also worked in the PR graphics department at the college, which at the time we got Macintoshes, and then I started learning some digital tools. And that was neat because I was creating ads to attract students to events. So I'm thinking, what's the unique selling proposition here? What words or graphics will interest those students into coming to events? And then the National Student Advertising Competition, boy, that's a team effort and something fascinating that we did in the college. We did at the college at the time. We didn't win, but it was a great experience working with my fellow students on that. And then I got a job at, wow, the hottest ad agency on the West Coast. Even the very end of Mad Men, they talk about Chiat', the 1984 ad and the Energizer Bunny. So I'm working in the main office in Venice, California. I'm thrust into a group of ad executives where it's pretty intense stuff, but my graphics and just being able to work a lot of overtime, I ate really well, made me an asset to the agency. So at the time when we opened a regional office in Dallas to work the Nissan account, which was my primary account, I said I'd go. So that brought me to Dallas and working with a smaller team, but still dynamic, trying to figure out how do we sell Nissan, how do we work together. And then I also did some volunteerism with Ad2 Dallas. It's for the 20-somethings in advertising. So I'm really maturing as a person in the advertising world, but sales kind of overlapped everything. And then I did get homesick. So I headed back to California, where I'm from, and I was followed by a Texas girl. She joined me out there. I got a job at Lord Dentsu, which is another ad agency in LA. I was on the Dole Foods account, but what's fascinating about that is I was invited to be on the new business team. That's fascinating. Here you are at an ad agency putting together pitches for new clients. So I witnessed that, experienced that hardcore really sales component of the advertising world. And then wildest job I ever had, probably the bucket list job of all time, the American Film Institute, worked there. But it was the digital tools that I got a chance to learn that really helped, and I still use to this day. I worked in major giving, and I worked on the advanced technology program. So I was creating a schedule of classes, hiring trainers, putting together special events, really not much unlike a lot of us do at our colleges that we're working at, except I had a lot more celebrities around at the time. So we decided after our first baby came with my wife to move back to Dallas. But just before we left, I got into this group picture, and I've shown this to kids at career fairs and career days. You can see Mickey Mouse in the picture. They all know who Mickey Mouse is, but they didn't know who the guy to the right of Mickey Mouse is. That's actually Charlton Heston holding his staff from the 10 Commandments. And then I got a job at Richland College. I originally thought I'd be at a game company, and a lot of the game companies, I was kind of turned off, even though I had some skills for that. They had beds and showers at one of the places they interviewed at, and there are a lot of violent games. So getting a job at the college was ideal. I was a family man. I wanted to have a good, respectable job, and that ended up being at Richland College. Richland College, you can see the stretch of time I worked at Richland College. I was thrust right into contract training and grant management right away. Richland College is at the bottom end of what was called the telecom corridor. We're just a few miles from Texas Instruments. At the time, the semiconductor companies needed 20,000 people in bunny suits to make chips. So I was in a group where we worked with industry, chambers, funding agencies from the state, and colleges to help them build that workforce. Also, about the same time, saw Tony Zeiss present. He was the president of Central Piedmont Community College. And his presentation was fascinating. He talked all about contract training. His presentation was called The Wolves Are at Our Door. And it was about if we don't really get our acts together as colleges, we will miss out on all of this corporate training opportunity we have with business and industry, and other entities will come in and take that away. So I've never forgotten about that. And that was one college that was definitely kind of leading the pack in contract training. And then I ended up learning a lot about the Texas Workforce Commission, something we're very fortunate to have in the Dallas area. The Skills Development Fund is a large grant that allows us to work with new and incumbent workers, with single companies and consortiums. And as a friend of mine at the college says, it's still sales. It's still a lot of client management interaction. It's just somebody else paying the bills. So that ended up going well, but I was worried after these grants were over, will people buy classes from us? And they did. They liked the customer service. They liked our trainers. So I was at an off-campus facility called the Annex, working with coworkers and trainers and mentors. And we really got our rhythm going in contract training. I think we put up some good numbers, had some great clients and experiences. We did networking, publicity, everything we could to push contract training and get our products out there so people could buy them from us. Really, it's about the effort. If you're not out there giving an effort, they're going to really think of you as a stereotypical college, and we were the corporate part of the college. Hot training products we had at the time weren't even offered publicly. We had Achieve Global and DDI, both really good leadership curriculum. I call them the Coke and Pepsi of leadership training. We had occupational Spanish, some other great products. Some of what we did really was attractive and worked very well in the corporate training environment. And then a little later on, we worked with procurement and the other colleges to form a vendor pool. And this allowed professional trainers or vendors to apply to be vendors for Dallas College. It took a lot of the red tape, the bureaucracy out of it. They were vetted, and we're able to use these professional trainers for our clients. So that's been a real asset. I think we have 40 to 50 trainers right now that we're working with. When we opened our Garland campus, I couldn't pass up the opportunity to go there. Garland has about 240,000 people, maybe ranked in the top 10 of manufacturing locations in the state of Texas. If you buy a cowboy hat, it probably was made in Garland. It's the cowboy hat making capital of the world. So we were in a great place to sell contract training at a brand new campus. The Richland College's Corporate Services Group moved there, and we had the Garland Chamber of Commerce co-located on our campus, which was a great asset for sales because they're introducing us to new clients, and we're working with them on events and projects and things to bring people to the campus. It kind of became a centerpiece for events in the Garland area. They also formed the Dallas County Manufacturers Association. They found a lot of the manufacturers didn't want to go to events and meet bankers and consultants. So this was a safe zone for them. The chamber coordinated it. They acted as an advocate with the state for the needs of manufacturers, and we were the training arm. So that was easy. We were able to meet those clients and provide sales and do the sales and provide training from the college, including a lot of grant training for both pre and post-employment. We also established the partnership awards with the help of the chamber. They actually helped us judge the candidates, but it was for a high-performing grant partner and high-performing contract training partner. And that was great exposure because we gave the awards at the chamber banquet. So people were seeing, other companies were seeing what we were doing for these partnerships these partners that won the awards. And they thinking, well, maybe I would want that for my employees as well. And then the DCMA Leadership Academy is really a great partnership. I just want to mention briefly because it's with the chamber. The chamber is our client. They recruit members of the DCMA. We, when they hit critical mass, we do a contract with the chamber. They do we do 32 hours of training for them at our campus over 4 months. We've been running strong since 2012. We've had 300 graduates, 20 academies, and it's neat because this is a consortium of companies, so supervisors get to talk to other supervisors. So it's been a win-win, and I'm happy to tell you more about it if it's something you'd like to try. And then this postcard's neat because it really chronicles the success we had at the Garland Center. It's something I could hand to clients and they could see what we did, what we actually did, and some of these great facts and figures. And really, it's about telling your story, and that is sales, telling your story. And this was a nice piece that let us do that and won an award for us. We've all done ugly spreadsheets. This is mine. This really does chronicle, though, the contract and grant training for the roughly 11 years we were at the Garland Center right up until the pandemic and the formation of the Ascend Institute and Dallas College consolidating. But I want you to notice at the top, you can see roughly we had twice as many contract training students. And the reason's simple. We did a lot of short-term classes. A lot of leadership classes are really only 4 hours long. So that really added up the students. Contractors are roughly the same, but the grant funding model is much different. And most of their classes are technical. So you see the grants are much more lucrative. And we had grants and contract training together. I helped manage and work some grants. So it was really two hats, but many times working with the same clients. And the yellow clients I want to point out because that is repeat business. You should be doing up to 70% of repeat business with your companies in contract training. And that, at that point you go from sales to client management, but these are clients you want to maintain and keep working with, and they become referrals. The referral of all referrals for me was with Salmons Corp. I worked with a HR manager there to do classes. He gets a job at the new Perot Museum of Nature and Science, this beautiful museum right in downtown Dallas. And we get hired to do customer service training for hundreds of people, all their docents, all their staff. And then when they open, Bush people that were putting together the library and presidential center near SMU asked about their training, and that got us the Bush Museum and hundreds of people. Never met the president, but this is crazy. I was at a Richardson Chamber event, and he was there as a speaker with hundreds of people, and it was just a few weeks before the pandemic shut the world down. The Ascend Institute, you need to go into some explanation here, but this is now our corporate college. We were established 2021, so we're about 4 years in. And why did we do this? It's because although things were going pretty well at many of the campuses, we were separated. We had worked in silos. We didn't collaborate much. Colleges competed because we're all independent colleges within Dallas County. Not a healthy thing. That was true of contract training as well. We had overlapping programs. Grant funding was a little bit odd because we had clients on the border or in other service areas, as we called it. We had a service area of zip codes that we were supposed to work. Pricing classes, paying trainers, we were all over the map when it came to doing that. One college could be different than another. District support, trying to support us all. We were really, I was doing a contract, another college was doing a contract. So it was just a lot of redundant tasks. And then our customers were caught in the middle. So I think we had some missed opportunities. And the issue was kind of forced to, well, we were already working on the Ascend Institute when the college consolidated, but now we're one of the largest community colleges in the country with about 130,000 students, and the credit hour rate's really good. And so the Ascend Institute is our corporate college. How does this make us better? Well, these are things we're striving for. And I think these are true. We're getting better at it. There've been kinks. I mean, we merged together processes and support teams and tools that everybody was doing differently into one college. I think that this gives us strengths and trainers and curriculum. We can competitively price now as a whole, as one college. We have sharing resources now. So we have a experienced sales team of people like me who came over, and then we have some newbies that are learning the ropes and doing very well. We're putting up some good numbers. I'm proud of the team. We're local, responsive, and closely aligned with chambers and economic development departments and industry. So how are we doing? I call this our shock and awe slide. This is logos of a lot of really impressive companies in the Dallas area that we're working with. These clients, we're at all kinds of different maturity levels working with them. So where are they now? Well, I devised this idea of a sales volcano. You've probably heard of the sales funnel. Maybe it's just in North Texas, we don't like funnels, obviously. But some of the clients, of course, on the previous slide might be dormant now, dormant volcano. And what would it take to get them back and make them active again? Well, it just takes some effort, reconnecting, bringing maybe some new ideas and products to them. The Pro Museum's back working with us after about 10 years. But you can have all kinds of great metaphors like this and things, but you really need to be using a CRM like Salesforce to capture your client data, do your sales cycle reports and dashboards. We're learning. We're not all great at it. I have trouble with it. But as a friend of mine once told me, if it's not in Salesforce, it didn't happen. These are stats for FY24. You can see our numbers are really good. So it's truly a team effort. We've been even expanded and added a few team members from another department. But I do want to point that out. We have some wonderful departments that support us. Got to acknowledge the work that they do, because without the work they do, we wouldn't have the freedom to go out and do outreach and sales. We have some tools that you might use as well. And then some agency and government industry association partners that really do provide benefits to us, help us make connections as salespeople to potential clients. And the tech one I'm involved with, that's kind of neat because I'm getting exposed to AI, AR, VR, big data, cybersecurity, And I enjoy that, and it's also opening new doors. Obviously, we heard about AI from Joanne earlier. This is the presentation I did 2 years ago. I thought about repurposing some slides, but this is a good presentation. I really think if you're looking at ideas for leads, this is a good one. So it's in the meeting assets. You can pull it up and look at it, or if you get a PDF of this, you can click on it. So I encourage you to look at it. But we're going to go now into the guts of a sales call. This is Sales Training 101, old school, perhaps, but I thought it wouldn't hurt that really, since that's what the training is called here, to review what it really takes to do a good sales call. I don't want to do virtual, and virtual sales calls are challenging sometimes from their own ways, as you can see. So let's make it a face-to-face sales call. So you're going to go meet your client. I'll just run through these pretty quickly. They're all important, really. You need to know who you're meeting with. You should have researched your client ahead of time. Hopefully you've already talked to them or emailed them. You need to have a customized sales kit. You need to verify where you're going and how to get there. The last thing you want to do is late to a client meeting, get confused or be stressed out when you arrive. And then you're in the car, try to think about what your expectations are, what you're hoping to achieve with this client. So some of this is what you might call the nonverbal, but you need a firm handshake, eye contact. The golden rule: listen 80% of the time, talk 20% of the time. If you research the company, know them, know what they're all about, even have some questions ready. Get to know the client by finding out a little more about maybe their career and some of the things that they've accomplished or the challenges that they have. Look around. You can see behind me, I like airplanes. So find some things to have common ground and mention to the client, small talk, and then bridge the training needs smoothly. If there has been some discussion about the training, refer back to that. Here's where the open-ended questions become very important. You can see a couple examples here. You might be finding out at the time you didn't know already. This might not be the ultimate decision maker, so you're going to want to find that out. And then when that is determined, you're going to bring your subject matter expert probably with you to the next meeting, which would be the ideal result of the first meeting. Take good notes. Look for subtle challenges. And really, like I said, just to understand the prospect's role, their pain points, what brought you two together for the sales call. When it comes to college, be proud of your college, explain your mission, tie your benefits to what the client's needs are, watch for those open doors, offer past examples of successful training, drop names of clients that you've worked with, especially if they're in the same industry, and just assure them you can do the job. Closing the deal, you want to make sure you've covered all their questions. You want to ask for budget if you can. That's a tougher one to pull off, but you want to mainly lay out an action plan for follow-up. Send your meeting notes later and a nice thank you. Schedule a second meeting. Bring your SME, do a tour of the plant. That's some of my favorite things to do, is tour plants. Job shadowing assessment, that's a tougher one. I've even thought about the past, as my colleagues have, how could we sell that? Could we sell an assessment? LERN has some good tools for that. That's negotiable. Sometimes your subject matter expert can do the best assessment. And then ask for the sale, get a proposal ready, tell them how you'll follow up. But let's look at an active client that I have right now. This is Clark Dietrich. They make interior, exterior steel framing for large projects like the ballpark in Arlington, the Bellagio, and Heinz Field, among others. They've had a history with the college. I found that out. They've had students go to open enrollment classes. I had a virtual sales call with the client. I went over a lot of things we just discussed using those techniques to get down to what his needs were. He really wanted a walkthrough of his equipment, 2 to 3 clients at a time. Now I'm digesting all this, but I'm thinking that's not really practical for us. So started to weave in maybe some other ideas. I asked for a second meeting to bring my SME. I put together a proposal. We're going to look at an example of that. Ended up being 2 12-hour classes. You can see the 2 classes there. Work together schedule. Some of these things in blue at the bottom, I'm going to show you examples of, or we've customized them for what we do. The first customer inquiry may have seemed like a long time ago, but clients will just say, okay, I want this training to start in April. So be patient. You may have training starting months from now or training starting next week. Everything's in let's say sales volcano, not funnel. Put everything in Salesforce too, of course. Then this is a proposal. It's a nice, clean proposal, has all the details on the class, structure, suggested scheduling, pricing. Now this outline's probably a little too beefy, a little too full. We know the client's going to work with team leads and they're going to cut that back. That's from my trainer. And but we knew this was approved, so it was really about getting a start date and syncing up a schedule with the trainer. This is a standard trading agreement. You might have something like this. There's 6 pages. Even though it's a template, we have to send it to our legal every time. The contract workflow is we're helped by a workforce operations department to navigate all that digital stuff. And then this is the last 6 pages. Attachment A should be really your proposal in the contract, and then we do a DocuSign. This is our registration form. It's customized. I found that pre-registering students is an option, but I think sometimes you get incomplete information. Sometimes somebody's a no-show. I think customer service is a show up, do the registrations. Maybe it's old school, but on paper. It's good customer service. You see the client, see the class, take that burden off of your trainer, and you really only need the minimum information from the students anyway for the college for contract training. I think that's true for most of us. This is a really important form that I've used for years now, and I know it's used on the grant side too. This is the snapshot of the class you did. All the details there should be in this. It's blacked out, but you'll have the student names and their IDs, so you know they've been registered. There's a second tab that takes you to a roll sheet, and that can be saved as a PDF and sent to the trainer. There's a note at the bottom for the trainer that if somebody's in the class and is registered, they're not in the class, so we need to make sure everybody's printed and in there. And then maybe you've noticed we brand everything with our logos. Here's a client, another client management tool we've customized. It's a student course evaluation, so we get data on that, but it has some nice pieces at the bottom to get testimonials from your students. If they like more training, they can suggest that. Of course, I'm going to share that with the client. And then when the class is graded, certificates can be ordered. They can be emailed to the client, or even better, get a group shot with all your folks holding their certificates and the trainer and send that to the client. That's a nice way to do this. So my second class is underway now, and we've actually added 2 students. I don't know if I mentioned it. The safety students all got their OSHA 10. So this has been successful. I'm hoping maybe after this next class, maybe they'll even do some leadership training because I proposed it and that might work. We'll see. So here's a more condensed version of the sales call checklist that you looked at. We reviewed it earlier. I think all the highlights are here. This would be a good thing to keep handy for your team and just to practice this. I think if you do these techniques, you're going to have a greater chance for a sale when you're with your prospective client. So how about trying this out? Let's go ahead and sell something. This is a mock sales activity that I think you'll enjoy, and you can do back at college. So we're going to go to a fictional town. I called it Chowchilla, Texas. And what's in Chowchilla, Texas? Well, there are clients in Chowchilla, Texas. This activity really involves 3 people: a college salesperson, a client, and an observer. So if you have a large group, you can break them into 3s. Or if you have a lecture or a theater style format, you can have yourself and maybe a colleague act as the client and the observer, and then have a volunteer come up and be the salesperson. So this is a mock sales piece. Chief Global did this once and I saw it and I had to adapt it for our needs. So this is Croft Foods. We might have a Kraft Foods in Garland, but this has the name of the client and maybe some things the client has facing him or her. So we're going to provide this to the salesperson and to the actor that's playing the client, so they'll know what the sales call is all about, probably assuming they've had some contact before. So the mock sales call checklist, this is what we just looked at, but now there are question marks on everything. So this is what the observer is going to be looking at when the salesperson's practicing with the client and highlighting or checking off things that they do. So this is the piece the observer works with. But here's the here's the catch. Here's the little funny part. Funny part that we put in there, not really too funny, because the client has issues. And I think these are funny because they're not all far off. You can actually be meeting with somebody who has these odd behaviors. And I have a few listed. They might be rushed, need to go to another appointment. All they care about is the money. They've had a bad experience with a college before. They might be distracted, take a call, not the decision maker, as we discussed. Their expectations may be way off, like Clark Dietrich was originally. They may be a chatter, want to do rabbit trails. I like this one there. They may be a know-it-all, or maybe feel like you may meet with them like, do they want to do the training themselves? It sounds like they do. If you can have other people, invite people to the meeting, that really makes it kind of chaotic. And then, or they might be a low talk or mumble. Or the sad part is they might have been going through some turmoil and you didn't even know it. And maybe they kept the meeting with you. So we asked the client to take on one of these behaviors, but I've seen clients that are complete hams do every behavior, and that really does tank the exercise. So we really don't want them to do that. I've seen salespeople just say, I give up and quit, walk away. They're flabbergasted, can't deal with the client. But this is great because in real life, we do have, I think it's on the next slide. Yeah, I'm talking about this. We do have distinct personalities. The feedback that the observer is going to give, there'll be the good, bad, the ugly, and the feedback from the salesperson to client. But there are things that we need to overcome, maybe beyond what you'd expect when you're working with a client. You don't know what you're walking into sometimes in terms of that work environment. So be tough and adapt. If you have to mentally throw in the towel, maybe another meeting can be scheduled, and you can do of course, you do a write-up and a follow-up. Don't just give up yet. Be like her. New opportunities. I just want to run a couple, if I can explain these in the short time I have left. Now that we're one big college, we've been venturing out into different things. One of those is this idea of sector-based strategies and partnerships. And so it comes from an organization called NextGen. They've been working nationwide with some colleges. It breaks down the sectors by industry, and the partners in the sector are all in the same industry. The college is a part of this. The key thing is it's client-led, but it's an initiative that we've really gotten behind. I've been to the IT sector launch. I'm on that team. And I just was at one where the manufacturing event that the DCMA put on. And they were talking about the manufacturing sector. There are 51 partners in that. So I really hope that the Ascend Institute can be more integrated into these. Right now, a lot of discussions about the pipeline and workforce, understandably why, but we're hoping maybe to get that upskilling opportunity in that sector with these clients too. So, because they're going to hire people, obviously, but sometimes those hired people need to be fine-tuned, and training is the best investment you can make with your workforce. So that's an opportunity now for us to work with these groups and use our sales ability and the strength of the Ascend Institute and all that comes with it. The thing that I found, though, really neat is this schools of approach. We're now organized into schools of. You can see them here. And in the past, and Tony Zeiss would say this too, I think, the academic side did not work at least our college with the corporate training side. In fact, I heard we were coined the shadow college by somebody once. And that was just the way it was. But after the merge, when TI came to the college and the CHIPS Act came out, there was a move to train a whole bunch of TI people and kind of raise the standards and do that through fast-track non-credit training to certificate programs that would be converted later. So the Ascend Institute was looked at, okay, we can do the business piece of this for that. And so I got involved, and I've now worked quite a bit with them. In fact, I just heard from my partners in the School of MIT today. I did a proposal this week. I got another one coming up. And it's great because a lot of these clients are from both the School of MIT and their own faculty is giving us leads. So it's a partnership I'm just so thrilled about because it didn't exist before. And I think there are a lot of opportunities to work with the other schools of. So I'm really counting on that happening. And then lastly, I moved from my comfort zone of the Garland campus to Northwest Dallas at our Brookhaven campus. I'm excited about this new opportunity. We have a labor market intelligence center, and I asked them to put together a study of all the zip codes and the major companies and even mid to major companies in those zip codes. so I can see who they are, and I give them some criteria I wanted completed. So I can use that to build my strategic planning. I can design some marketing and sales kits and hit events and hopefully work with local chambers so they can maybe make some introductions. So we all would prefer warm calls over cold calls, I think. And really it comes down to in sales, you got to be where your clients are. They're not going to show up at your office. You got to go out and be at places they are. Then you can meet them and talk to them and form the relationships that you need to make to be successful in this sales world for your clients and for your college, because you are an important part of your college, bringing in revenue and connecting all of your clients to your college. You're an ambassador for your college. Always keep that in mind. So look at the populations here. Wish me luck. I think this is going to be a high growth area for us. And this is my last slide, Gail. I've chatted enough about being part of LERN. Get your CCT if you haven't received it, and if you go to a conference, get your selfies with LERN legends like Dr. Draves and Greg Marcello. But I'm happy to take any questions, and I hope you gain something. Obviously, I have passion for this even after 28 years of doing it. Thank you very much.
Okay, we have about 5 questions here.
Okay.
And the first one is, how do you ensure you have the right people on the call?
Well, I think you're going to ask ahead of time. You're going to set an agenda ahead of time. And if I am surprised, the first thing I'm doing is writing down who's on the call and who they are and their titles. There will be introductions, but sometimes you're surprised. I think that if you've vetted the client and worked with the client, you're already going to be encouraging them to bring some of their supervisors or team leads, or that will definitely be in the next meeting. Your client might be an HR manager or somebody in leadership. They may not be working, alongside like at Clark Dietrich, people that are working the machine. So I would invite more people. It's an advantage. But on the other hand, know that you might be working with a little more of a environment, like I said in the mock sales call, people with different ideas of what the training might look like. So that might be a challenge to overcome. But just get as much information as you can in advance, and don't be shy about asking who's going to be there. And of course, if you're going to bring something, let them bring somebody. Let them know who that is.
Okay.
Thanks for the question.
Yeah. How much time do you spend each week out on meetings with clients? Also, how much should a department set aside each year for advertisement?
Oh, those are really hard questions. One thing that we've had at the college, we are working with administrative back office pieces, but I've seen some of LERN's models for contract training. We really are the womb to tomb, as you'd call it. We do the sales and we do the client management. So as you saw with the repeat business, sales is something we need to be doing, but often we're just working with client maintenance as well. So yesterday I was able to go to a chamber with one of my colleagues and meet the MetroCrest chamber. And so Thursday they're having a mixer. It's at 7:30 in the morning. Great time to go network. So I have a lot of good coffee. So I'm going to be at that. I think you plan for it. Plus some of the committees and things I'm on. I just did a report for my performance evaluation. I noted when I'm at things, external things, how many have clients present. And that's an advantage. Even if you're not just outright selling to them, you were there, they know who you are, they know what you represent, and you look for openings. I had a chance to talk to the new chamber CEO, Richardson. She's going to put together a workforce summit. I want to be a part of that. Now I'm representing a committee, I'm on there, but she knows I'm representing the college. So as far as marketing, that's a tough one because we've had some challenges. Marketing now is thrust into working for an entire college. And it's a little harder because in the past when we were just one campus, we had a marketing person meeting with us every month and we worked with her on marketing. So some things you really, I don't mind. I've had some creative stuff in my past. I don't mind putting together ideas, but we do need to get everything approved by marketing. So I think we're going to turn a corner. We do need to work on our website. But the best marketing piece is yourself. Get out there with the card and talk about what you do and what products and services you can provide. Thank you.
Are there any books you recommend related to sales?
Oh, interesting. I have Dr. Drave's book, The Nine Shift, from a long time ago. I think I have Herb Kelleher's book on sales and customer service. Uh, I I know that with Chief Global and DDI, I did the training, and there are definitely some leadership classes involved there. I think I won a book from Joanne last time. She said we'd get together and talk about it. I I know that some things are homegrown. I would love to actually get a nice library of books and hear what y'all are looking at right now. I read a lot of white papers online, and I'm on LinkedIn all the time. So or I maybe even watch a video now and then. So just get out there and sell. Always have something fun to talk about. I know I was just at a conference and they were talking about using AI to talk to dolphins. It's a real thing. So it's great to have an icebreaker when you talk to a client. I don't know if that's in a book, but I like to try to be relevant and just try to be friendly and open, and then turn it to sales when you can. That's probably the hardest thing for me is turning a relationship, converting that to a sale, and I always could do better at that. So let me know what your books are. You got my email, please. I'd love to hear. And then if I have a library, I'm not in my office, and I'll maybe pick out some titles from there, and I can send you a note back. Thank you.
What are some tactics you're using to get leads in order to set up the sales calls and visits?
Well, I think number one, that sector-based approach is interesting, but I think number one is going to chamber events. I think the chambers, they're just ripe for the pickings. Most of the people that are going to those events are there to network. I go to a sales, almost like a sales dating thing. The Garland Chamber does, called Direct Connect, where you are at a table and you have 1 minute to do your sales pitch, and you go around and do that. I actually love to do that. It's fun to kind of hone your sales message. But I really think this LMI study is going to help because I need to be more strategic about it. The hard part is I think a lot of us are reactive, and we're getting leads sent to us. We're working with some legacy clients right now at Ascend, which kind of limits the ability to sell. But I'm really excited about Clark Dietrich because for me, that was a pure contract sales experience for me. So relish what you can, and all clients are important, big or small. That's what's important about contract training. I think it's best to serve the client. We want to make sure they know we're a resource for this, and you never know what it might lead to later. Please look at the lead generation presentation. There are a whole bunch of neat ideas in there on how you might get leads. And I'll also make sure you know that your campus and your trainers can provide you leads as well. Everybody's in sales in one way or the other. But thank you for that question.
Okay, this one's kind of long, so we may not be able to get it completely answered. There's only 2 minutes left, but I'll go ahead and read it and you can take a stab at it.
Okay.
The 70% repeat business, do you look at similar businesses that are not using Dallas College? And when you approach them after doing the research on their company, what is your leading talking track to get the conversation started? And how do you leverage that conversation with their competitors?
Yeah, that's tough because there is a competition between some of the companies we work with. Not altogether that common though. So I know we don't have a lot of time left. I think don't be shy about dropping names. I wish we were better at getting testimonials. If there's anything I leave you with is work hard to get those testimonials. We're only 4 years in with the Ascend Institute, but we need to work better. I have a best practices 30-day follow-up I'm supposed to send to my companies, and it has some testimonial pieces, and I completely forget to do it half the time, or sometimes I send it out and don't get it back. But I really do think that if they're not terribly competitive, if you talk about one client you're working with or have worked with and what was successful there, that client's going to be very interested in maybe getting that for their own employees, because they're of course looking out for their company. And if they can visualize that at their company and the success that you talked about at their company, I think you're going to have a better shot at selling. And they don't have to be calling each other, but I think that you can bring that message to them. And that's why every story that I have as a salesperson, I want the younger, newer team members to have that story. That's not just my story, that's our story. So if they can remember that story and something successful, they can use that in a sales call and speak from a kind of a credibility standpoint, even though that may not have been their experience. So don't be shy about that. Work with your team, do a lot of practicing. We've had some really good sales training as a team. So just if you're the veteran, help your other teammates out too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Konley, for sharing all this wonderful information. We hope you all enjoyed this session. Please use the rate session button to let us know what you thought of this presentation, and we'll see you in the next session. Thank you, Konley. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Go get them.